Hi, thank you for joining us at Tax Talk UK, where we talk about all things tax and other things that you need to think about when you are self-employed running your small business. So we're going to look further today at job expenses and claiming tax relief for the things that you pay for. Before we do, if I could please ask you to take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll easily be able to refer back to this information if you need to, as well as finding other information that we have available for you on a whole range of topics to do with being self-employed. So back to your job expenses then. So what we're talking about is when you incur any costs in the line of doing your job, and we're talking about employees, so you're employed and you receive your pay through the PAYE scheme, have your tax and national insurance and potentially pensions deducted. So in this scenario, if you are incurring costs because of your job that your employer isn't reimbursing you for, then you are able to claim tax relief to compensate that. Now, we looked at this actual process of being able to do this in another video, but we were asked if we could actually explain a little bit more about how it actually works and how you actually get the money back from your tax relief. So that's what we're looking at doing today. So let's look at an example then. Let's say, for example, that you pay £100 for a subscription to a professional body that is specifically and only for the course of your employment. And as we mentioned earlier, it's important to note that this only applies if you're not reimbursed, because of course, if your employer has reimbursed you for the money, then you're not out of pocket in any case. So you spent £100. So when you were paid that originally, you're paid £100 gross, and we're assuming that you're above the personal allowance sort of by now. So from that £100, you will have £20 tax deducted, and you will receive £80 is what you'll actually receive to spend. But you've spent £100. So you spent £100 on those costs, but you only actually received £80. So you're out of pocket when we think only about the tax in this scenario by £20. And it's this situation specifically that the tax relief on your job expenses seeks to put right. It seeks to put you back in the situation where you earned £100 gross and that you don't have any tax deducted on that £100 because you spent that £100 anyway on costs specifically for your employment. So so that's the principle of what the tax relief is seeking to do, and how it does it is the amount that you specifically pay on the costs that aren't reimbursed are added to your personal allowance. So your personal allowance is increased by the amount of the cost. So in this example we're looking at, you've paid £100 that hasn't been reimbursed by your employer. So your personal allowance is increased by that. So that means that you can now earn £100 more before tax is deducted. So now, in effect, you have £100 that you're paid by your employer, and you have no tax deducted on that. So you receive the £100. So much as you've paid that £100 on expenses for your employment, at least you're not out of pocket in that respect. So that is how that seeks to work. And as we explained in our previous information, as I've already mentioned, it's really important to know that this only applies if you're not reimbursed, and it can apply to anything, any cost that you incur. So things like professional subscriptions, perhaps mileage. You may perhaps incur some mileage in your personal car for your employer that they don't reimburse you for. And again, remember that that does not include traveling to and from work. It's only additional mileage that you incur that your employer doesn't reimburse you for. And as we looked at in the other guidance as well, most industries have a flat rate expenses to sort of cover for things like cleaning your uniform or other costs that are generally expected in your industry. So you can have a look at that to find out what the flat rate is. And it's just important to make sure that HMRC know the costs that you've incurred, so they know how to reflect this in your tax code. So I hope that has been useful, and that explains how the principle of what is actually being achieved and why it's important to make sure that HMRC know the costs that you've incurred, and an accurate cost, or the flat rate ones too. Thank you again for watching. As I mentioned, please do take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye.